Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Jacob. We started this series with God loving it when our faith is active. This week, we're taking it a step further. Our big idea is, when our faith is active, we can see God at work.
Absolutely. You know, I have friends who have gone overseas on missions to spread the word of God, and they've come back with the most amazing stories that just have gone to show me that God is still active in this world of ours.
And that is totally true. Oftentimes when we read the Bible, we think it's big things happening to far off places and people a long time ago, but that's not all it is. God is still working and active today.
Yeah.
Watch today's God story and hear about what happened to Daniel and his friends.
So all of the music played and everyone bowed down to worship. Everyone except for Daniel's, free friends. I was about to say Daniel's free friends. Okay. Hi friends, it's Jen, and I'm really excited to be back with you today. I want to share a story with you about a time when I really saw God at work around me. See, back when I was in school, I had this friend and his name was Brad, and I really wanted to invite him to come to church and to youth group with me, but I was kind of scared of what he would think. So I prayed and asked for courage, and eventually I did invite him to come, and what was really cool is he connected right in with our church, and actually just a few months later, he decided to start following Jesus. It was so cool to see God working in that way. Today, we're going to hear a story about a few guys whose faith was active and they definitely saw God at work. Actually, that's today's big idea. When our faith is active, we can see God at work. It's like when our faith is active, our spiritual eyes are turned on and we can see God at work all around us. Now we're in Daniel chapter 3 and King Nebuchadnezzar has been busy. He had a statue made that was 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide, and he set it up near the city of Babylon. The king sent for all of his royal rulers, all of his advisors and judges, all of the people of Babylon to come and see the statue. We're not completely sure where Daniel is in this story, but he doesn't seem to be around. Then a messenger called out loudly, "Hey, you people of Babylon, listen up, even those of you who speak in other languages. When you hear the music, the lyre, the harp, all of that, you are to bow down and worship this gold statue. If you don't, you will be thrown into a blazing, fiery furnace." So all the music played and everyone bowed down to worship. Everyone except for Daniel's three friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, also known as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Other people saw that these three guys weren't bowing down to worship, and they told the king. The king was pretty angry, so he sent for these three men. They were brought to him, and the king said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, is what I heard about you true? Don't you serve my gods? Don't you worship the gold statue that I set up?" Let's read what happens next. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king. They said, "King Nebuchadnezzar, we don't need to talk about this anymore. We might be thrown into the blazing furnace, but the God we serve is able to bring us out of it alive. He will save us from your power. But we want you to know this, your majesty. Even if we knew that our God wouldn't save us, we still wouldn't serve your gods. We wouldn't worship the gold statue you set up." These three men had amazing faith in God. They were so committed to God that even a blazing furnace wouldn't stop them from doing what God asked of them. The king got even angrier with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He ordered that the furnace be turned up 7 times hotter than what it already was. He ordered that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be tied up and thrown into the furnace. And guys, the furnace was so hot that the soldiers that threw them in were killed. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego fell into the furnace. But then something incredible happened. Let's read it. Then King Nebuchadnezzar leapt to his feet. He was so amazed he asked his advisors, "Didn't we tie up 3 men? Didn't we throw 3 men into the fire?" They replied, "Yes, we did, your majesty." The king said, "Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire. They aren't tied up, and the fire hasn't even harmed them. The 4th man looks like a son of the gods." Then the king approached the opening of the blazing furnace. He shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, come out. You who serve the Most High God, come here." So they came out of the fire. Wow, this is amazing. They came out of the fire and everyone crowded around them. Not a single hair on them was burned. They didn't even smell like smoke. This was incredibly amazing. These guys had such incredible faith, they knew that God was at work and everybody could see it. Then the king said, "May the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be praised. He has sent his angel and saved his servants. They trusted in him. They refused to obey my command. They were willing to give up their lives. They would rather die than serve or worship any other god but their own God. No other god can save people this way." Then the king honored Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and gave them even more important jobs in the city. Well, these three guys, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, also known as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, had incredible faith in God, and they weren't afraid to do what they had to do to show that faith. As they did, they saw God at work in very real ways, and so did everybody else. As Christ followers, sometimes it can be intimidating or hard to show our faith in this way, but when we do, God can use us in incredible ways. We can be reminded by the amazing faith of Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah that having an active faith can be an incredible experience. Well, friends, it was really great to be with you again today. I will see you next time.
You know what caught my attention? This story really wasn't about Daniel. It was about his friends. And I think that just goes to show that Daniel didn't have some superpower to trust in God, but that God can work through anyone who believes in him.
You know, I think you're right. I never really thought about it that way, but it shows that God can do incredible stuff through regular guys like you and me.
We're gonna watch Audrie's life story now, about how she trusted in God and things didn't quite go as expected. Watch this.
I'm Canadian. I love my country and I love my family, but I've always just wanted to travel and learn more about other cultures. So I created a diary. In the diary, I wrote all the things I wanted to do when I went to France. I really wanted to become a French teacher. So the only way to become a French teacher is to learn more French. So I decided that how I was gonna do this is by doing an exchange program. I'd have somebody from France come visit my family, and then I'd go to France to visit hers. I prayed to God that I would have an exchange student that would become a sister to me. When my exchange student, Clelia, came to Canada, she did everything with us. Went to church, went to school, we went to a bunch of amusement parks, took her to specialty restaurants you can only find here in Canada, and we just took her all around different cities. Then Clelia returned back to France to her family. Soon enough, it was my turn to go visit her. I was super excited. When I arrived in France, things were a little bit different than I had imagined. The culture was really different, and I didn't know a lot of French at that point, and they didn't know a lot of English. Soon after I arrived, I started going to art classes. For the first couple of times, I went with my exchange mom. We took the tram together, but then she told me that I'd start taking the tram by myself. I was really nervous. All I had to go off of was just a map. So I prayed to God to make sure that everything would be all right, because I was really, really nervous. In France, they use France French. But in Canada, my whole life, I've been learning Quebec French. So when I got there, we had quite a few misunderstandings. I didn't really know all of the terms that they use there. So one time, my exchange mom asked me to make the salad, but I thought she said, eat the salad, because it is very similar in French. So there I was, eating the salad, when really I should have been just mixing the salad. Clelia had a lot of extracurricular activities that I wasn't able to go to. So that meant I had a lot of time that I had to figure out something to do by myself. In France, there's not a lot of people who are Christians, so I wasn't able to go to a church often. So I really missed my friends and my family and my church and just everything I knew back in Canada. A lot of times I felt sad or lonely and just felt like I didn't have a lot of people to talk to. I prayed to God that I would have a better day tomorrow. I communicated with my family and friends quite a bit while I was there, especially during the tough times. But then, soon later, I realized that for me to really have a great experience in France, I had to put away my phone and I had to put away all my communication with home and really invest in my time in France. For Christmas, my grandma bought me a French Bible. I was able to take the French Bible with me to France. This helped me through a lot of tough times because I was able to read the Bible daily. Once I limited my communication with home, I was able to really enjoy myself in France. I had a lot of fun getting to know people better and really being in the community. We visited quaint little shops around the city, went to farms, ate at amazing restaurants, and went to tourist attractions like the Eiffel Tower. It was an amazing experience and everything that I asked for.
Wow, that was an incredible story. And I loved how brave Audrie was to go to a new country with a new culture all on her own.
Yeah.
I would love to visit a country like that one day.
Absolutely. I found the turning point in Audrey's story really interesting. When she put away her phone and started trusting in God, everything changed, and she really enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, you're right. And it sort of brings us back to our big idea. When our faith is active, we can see God at work. Let's break into our small groups now and see what this looks like in our lives.